Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is MC1 Gamer providing you with another Convert This episode. So, after completing a commission that I had done, I decided that I wanted to get back to some of the things that I have on my long list in the queue of conversions that I'm doing for my army. One of them is to take what is Fellbats in the Vampire Counts book. That I can also use in the Undead Legions and turn it into something different because I don't like the models that GW has for Fellbats, and I also want to do something that's a little bit more consistent with the theme that I have for my army, which is as many people know if they're followers of my channel, is a Bretonnian themed, excuse me, Mousselin, I don't know if it's French pronounced. If somebody knows how it's supposed to be pronounced, please feel free to post that in the note in the comments below, because maybe I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time, but I'm not really sure. But that's how it's spelled, and phonetically that's how I'm pronouncing it until I'm told otherwise. So I'm creating what I consider to be Fell Pegasus. And I'm going to use these in, maybe I might cross these over at times, of course, letting my opponent know very clearly what I'm doing, and use them as Vargeist as well. I have a conversion that I've done for a handful of Vargeist, I think 5 or 6, that are basically what I call, instead they're my Peg Whites, and I'll do another episode on them because I'm going to be updating them. But I might actually I've been using those as Vargeist, which are essentially they have the Vargeist bat wings, but they're dark Pegasi with knights on them. And I have held off for a long time doing those. So I might actually use these, since I'm going to finish these before I get to those, and also, use these in concert as Vargeists at times. But these are definitely meant to be my Fell Pegasus, or Fell Pegasi. I'm not sure what the grammatically correct version is. So I've gathered up a bunch of different bits, and the way I look at it is, instead of Fellbats, I'm going to use, again, these Pegasus that are decrepit and they're decaying, they're skeletal. So the core of what I'm going to use is going to be the Black Knight's horse, the skeletal horse. So that's going to be the basis. This kit over the standard skeleton horse kit that you might see in Tomb Kings. And the reason why is it has some barding on them, and it really looks, some of them look like they're actually in this really great pose, and there's some variety to them, and I like them. I just think there's more to them. And I've got a bunch of them. I've got, an entire box that I have yet to open up. So, and I've got these two. I've used the others from this for other things. I used 2 for the Black Coach, 1 for my mounted White King conversion, who's a standard bearer at times, and sometimes just a White King to put in a mounted unit. But I have these 2, and I have 6 more. I'm probably just gonna 5 more. I'm probably just gonna make 6 total, and that should be a good amount for a couple of either 2 units of 3 Fell Pegasus, 1 unit of 6, or 3 units of 2, because you could have them in each at 2 each minimum. And I actually saw, and again, I come up with some of these ideas myself, but some of them I actually take from other people, so I can't take full credit for everything that I come up with, but I do make it my own. And I did see someone else who had used these metal carrion wings from the Tomb Kings line to make something like along these lines. So I decided that I wanted to use them, and they look great. So I'm going to go, some of these are brand spanking new. That one's a little flushed out. And some of them I've cleaned up. But if you haven't seen these before, and they sell pretty, they're not cheap, but you could see if, and it might require me taking, going underneath as well. And some of these that have been cleaned up might actually look better. They just look like angelic wings that are in decay. Some of them are wrapped up in these, these flesh wraps, and, the wings, the feathers are still intact, but that's what these carrion are supposed to be, the carrion from that line. They're supposed to be these, like, vultures, these decaying, vultures. And, so it has a nice, nasty tone. It's not clean. It's not just, you could see a little bit better some of that wrapping. It could be flesh, that could be something else, just binding the wings. I don't know. I'm going to be doing them in flesh tones. So I wanted to have these these Pegasi or Pegasus be in, in a state of decay, so they've been tainted, and that's going to be my fell bats. So what I'm going to do is I'm using again these as the basis. These are just the two that I have that are built, and I'm going to be dremeling and cutting straight through the middle here, and then I'm going to be taking in various different poses the half. This is a little bit too bright, so let me use this one. The half that I cut, and I'm going to be mounting them, some down, some up. And then once I mount them, now it's going to make them a little bit top heavy, but I'll figure that out. There will be a way that I can figure it out. I'm going to be putting them all on metal bases. The actual bases that I have, they're going to be magnetized, and then I'll be putting them on metal trays. Excuse me. So they'll be able to stand up pretty well. And I'm going to have them in various different, flapping directions, and have them some like this, some like that, just to have them have variety, and then of different elevations so that they fit together when they actually group up, because they're when there's combat, anything that's skirmishing has to group up. And I have a couple different bases that I'm going to be using. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use. I have, and these are hard to see, I guess, in the current light. So let's see. Yeah, these are resin. I have some skulls and some rock and dirt. They're already been made. And then these I can just make whatever I want. Might be easier to do it with these, just because I can build up with green stuff and with flocking. I can mount the support part that has them flying a little bit more strongly. This one I'd really have to kind of butcher a little bit to have those work. So I'm not really sure which one I'm going to use. I might save these for the actual Vargeist that I'm going to be making. The pegged whites. W-I-G-H-T, or what I'm calling my Vargeists. And my fell Pegasi, I might be using these. And I have a bunch. I only have 6 of these, but I must have about 15 or 20 of those. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm using this acrylic rod, and I'll be positioning this, underneath here. And it's a little bit thicker, as you can see. It's not horribly thick, but it is much thicker than the plastic pegs that GW provides, and those really break. Anybody who plays Bretonnians or has used any kind of mounted model knows that you put these tiny little pegs on, and they're inevitably going to break. So I decided I got about a dozen of these, and they're pretty good. They're not they're not tremendously huge, but they're sturdy enough that once I mount them, on these bases, they're going to stay. And then I can have different elevations. I have about a dozen of these different elevations. And once I insert them into here, then they should stick pretty good. And that should be very sturdy for transport and for use on the table. So I've got a bunch of those. And as you can see, I have quite a few of these wings. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be using all these wings. I'm using at least 6 of them. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the others. And I have 4, 7, 9. So, I'm going to make 6, see how everything turns out, and, I may trade or sell off the remainders if I don't have a need for them, or I don't come up with a need for them. And, maybe I'll just make a couple of them as actual carrion, since I have the extra parts as well, and use that as a unit. Potentially summonable with the Lore of Undeath, or fieldable straight up as, a starter point for the list. So this is what I'm going to be working on next. And, I have a long list of conversions that I have planned. Obviously, I'm going to hopefully get around to some more painting sometime soon and put, some real good paint on these things. But the previous thing that I had used for these guys, I was using these. I was just using these really mashed up and slightly converted, but they didn't look great. Actual Bretonnian Pegasus. And they just didn't work right. I mean, I want to make this kind of a dual army anyway, so I can use it as a Bretonnian army, if Bretonnian is even still around after End Times. And I can get away with that because of the theme and because how obvious these things are. But the actual Pegasus I don't think worked. And it was a great idea, but I think this works a lot better. And I like, I just like the long-term building of exactly the kind of theme and look that I want for my army. And hopefully, if there's a new book that comes around sometime when 9th comes around, I'll still be able to use these as something, and when I won't have wasted my time and money. So in any case, this is what it's going to look like. So, look out for the progress videos and for the finale of this. I'm hoping to get this done over the next couple of weeks. And then I might slip into some of the dwarf conversions that I'm doing, one of which is going to be a bomber, which is going to be a biplane. and some other stuff. Finish up the Vargeists, and finally finish up maybe some more of the Black Knights that I have that I've been working on, and a number of other things. Just and eventually in between all that stuff, put some paint and really get some of these projects actually painted up. So, let me know what you think. If you have any comments, feel free to comment. If you like this series, Convert This, feel free to like it and follow it. I obviously have quite a bit more that I'm going to be doing with these. And, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. And I'm always happy to have suggestions or thoughts, comments about this stuff. If you're interested in how I did it, what materials I'm using, where I found them, or if you've done stuff like this yourself and you have suggestions or thoughts that might allow me to, do some shortcuts of my own to achieve the success of creating these personable and unique models for the Warhammer Fantasy game events. I'd be happy to hear from you and discuss it. So feel free to interact and talk amongst yourselves as well. I look forward to a number of things that I've got planned throughout the remaining days of 2014 and in the early weeks of 2015 that are already pictures done, videos done, got some audio to cut, including campaign games and other bat reps. And more of these, and we'll see what else I have up. So keep an eye out if you like the content. I'm more than happy to have you as a follower, and thank you for doing so. I just achieved 600 followers today. I'm thrilled about that. Thank you all, and have a wonderful new year.